Hello and welcome back to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host, as always, Ryan, and today we are going to be taking a look at Jon Moxley and who we think could beat him for the AEW Championship. Now, since WrestleDream, Jon Moxley has been the AEW Champion. He defeated Bryan Danielson, bringing an end to his full-time career. But since then, Jon Moxley has held the belt in a briefcase. We haven't seen the AEW Championship. Could this mean that we're going to get a new design of the title when we eventually see it again? Could he come out when he faces Orange Cassidy at Full Gear with the AEW Championship, or will Maria Shafir still hold the championship in the briefcase? So this, for me, has become the best storyline in the whole of wrestling right now. Jon Moxley and the Death Riders taking back AEW, trying to push talent to the heights that they were once thought that they would become. We've seen it with Private Party. They attacked Private Party. They challenged them to basically go back, find your roots, find that fire. And a couple of weeks later, the AEW Tag Team Champions for the very first time. And now he set his sights on Orange Cassidy. They will face each other at Full Gear for the AEW Championship after Mox and the Death Riders took out Chucky T, a former ally and friend of Orange Cassidy. They took him out. So then we've seen a more aggressive side of Orange Cassidy, if you like. He's not been the fun-loving guy that we know and love, that we're used to. We know Orange Cassidy can go in the ring. He had a phenomenal run as the AEW International Champion. Probably the best run that anyone's had while they've been that champion with the International Championship. So now they're looking at trying to push him towards the main event spotlight. And he gets his shot at Full Gear. So will Orange Cassidy become the AEW World Champion? Now, for me, I doubt it. I don't think Jon Moxley is going to start this new storyline, this new gimmick, this new push, this new drive in the company, to try and turn the company into something better, to try and push the original talent, the AEW originals, into the heights that they were supposed to have always become. For him then to drop the belt in his first challenge, which is obviously against Orange Cassidy at Full Gear. So, who else could challenge Jon Moxley in the future? Who could beat Jon Moxley to become AEW champion? Well, don't forget, we've got Christian Cage, who obviously has that AEW World Championship opportunity where he could basically cash it in at any point. All he's got to do is sign his name on the dotted line and get himself a shot at the AEW Championship. Now, we've seen him before where he was ready to run down and obviously get that opportunity to become champion. But Gib Sabian pulled him away, and at the time we thought it was because Sabian was messing with Christian, but then it turned out it was because Pac and Claudio were waiting to take Christian out so he wouldn't be able to actually win the AEW World Championship. So could we see Christian Cage maybe at some point go against Mox when he sees that the opportunity is right and become AEW World Champion? That's another opportunity. That's another possibility, another option. What about Darby Allin? So Darby Allin's an interesting one because way back when Jon Moxley was AEW champion for the very first time, Darby Allin got a chance at Mox's AEW World Championship. Now, obviously, Jon Moxley retained the belt, and then we've seen them face again more recently for Darby Allin's guaranteed opportunity at the AEW World Championship when Bryan Danielson was in fact the champion. They were supposed to go against each other for the title, but then Mox managed to goad and persuade Darby to put his AEW Championship opportunity on the line against him. Well, obviously Mox beating Darby and then going on to face Bryan Danielson at Wrestle Dream instead. So for me, Darby Allin, I'd probably say Darby is going to be AEW World Champion over the next year at some point. You know, he's put a solid body of work in. He's been, 3-time TNT champion. He's been AEW Tag Team Champion with Sting, and now Sting's retired. We need something for Darby Allin to start doing, and I feel like, there was talk originally, if you believe things online, there was talk originally of Darby Allin defeating Bryan Danielson to become the AEW World Champion, but I feel like because Danielson then said he was going to retire from full-time wrestling, that's why they went with Jon Moxley, because they were looking at trying to bring their storyline to an end. They started against each other at Revolution, and became part of a faction together. They built the Blackpool Combat Club together, so it made sense to bring an end to that storyline as Danielson was looking to pull away from AEW for a while. So Darby, for me, has the potential to be AEW World Champion. He's got a strong backing from the AEW crowd, especially the younger side of the crowd. They love him. He's a proper face, isn't he? He's like a proper baby face. The fans are going to stick with him all the way. So I feel like if they give it enough time and enough build, Darby could well become the next AEW champion. And at the moment, he's got a match against Claudio Castagnoli next week on Dynamite. I'd expect him to face Pac at some point, maybe even Wheeler Yuta. As we see every time we see Jon Moxley over the last couple of weeks, we see Darby Allin in some form. He attacked Jon Moxley and the Death Riders again this week. So Darby Allin, for me, is definitely a possibility. Now we move on and we look at the Switchblade Jay White. So since Jay White has returned to AEW after injury, he's gone more again like a babyface, which is something different for Jay White. But he still has his eyes set on the AEW World Championship. It's the belt that brought him to AEW in the first place. He wanted to become AEW World Champion. He's in a feud at the moment with Hangman Page. He's already got a victory over Hangman, and they face again at Full Gear. And surely if he picks up another win, that just pushes him further into the title picture and maybe the opportunity to face Jon Moxley in a one-on-one match. So Jay White is another option that AEW can go with. To be honest with you, AEW can go in so many different ways right now. There's so many guys at the top of the game, so many that they could easily push into that position if they wanted to. Will Ospreay is another one. After he's finished his feud with Kyle Fletcher, they could push him up into the main event scene. Swerve Strickland, he's going against Bobby Lashley at Full Gear. Surely if Swerve gets the win against Bobby, that pushes him back in towards the AEW World title scene. Bobby Lashley, even if Bobby gets a win over Swerve Strickland, he's a former world champion. Swerve's a former AEW World Champion. So if he gets that pinfall victory over Swerve, that'll give him some credibility in the title scene himself. So there is quite a few options for me. I think Darby Allin will be now pushed into the main event scene. It's going to be done up. Like I say, they've got the history, from years ago, 4.5 years ago. They've got that history there. They've got the recent history too. And like I say, he's one of the most popular stars that AEW has had since day one. And the whole storyline for Jon Moxley is he wants to bring out the best in the AEW originals. We've seen it with Private Party. We've seen it over the last few weeks with Orange Cassidy. So, will we see Jon Moxley bring out the best in Darby Allin and see Darby Allin as a future AEW World Champion? Let me know in the comment section below. Who do you think is going to be the guy to dethrone Jon Moxley as AEW World Champion. And don't forget, as always, to give us a like, comment, and subscribe to the wrestling group today.